like to call the June 8th, 2014 Personnel and Finance meeting to order. Item 2 is approval of the agenda. Need a motion and support to approve the agenda as presented? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passed unanimously. Item 3, public comment. Is there any public comment? Apparently there's no public comment. We'll go to item 4. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, 4A. We need, unless there's changes to the minutes, we need a motion and support to approve the minutes from May 11th.
So moved.
You have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 4B. This will be from the HR Department, adoption of Resolution 06-15.16 regarding the FOIA policy changes. Welcome, Joni.
Good morning. I'll kind of leave this at your pleasure if you have questions today. I know we went through it at the study session. I know there weren't any questions then, and maybe you were having mercy on me on that particular day, but I'd be happy to answer any you might have.
Any questions or discussion?
Support.
We have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes
Thank you.
unanimous. Thank you. Next up, we have item 4C. This will be the Sheriff Department. This will be seeking approval of a contract with the Village of Concord for 40 hours a week worth of service.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
What we have here before you is I'm requesting, I think, what will eventually be 2 motions, one for the approval of the contract and one for the addition of the FTE or Deputy Sheriff position. But Concord Village approached us and they have disbanded their police force. We tendered them a basic contract as we used in the past with the last 2 or 3 contracts. Have spoke with them, reviewed it, and they wish to proceed forward and contract 40 hours per week police service with us. This would be the boilerplate contract that we've used for all the other townships or venues that we've contracted with. The $75,000 per year to start with does fully fund the FTE position. So that is what we are seeking approval for.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did speak with the undersheriff and the administrator and our board chair before the meeting. I think we would be wise to separate the 2 issues. I think we did that on the last one, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So I would move to approve the contract separately first.
Do we have support?
Support.
We have a motion and support to approve the contract. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimous. Second part here.
Thank you. Very quickly on the procedural matter for the Concord Village contract, I'll be attending their meeting tomorrow night for the formal signing. I will bring back the 3 signed copies from the village for county administration and chairman to sign. On the next issue, we are
Commissioner Elwell.
Yeah, we need to approve the, or send forward the FTE.
Yes.
Well, again, I've got some slight concerns with that, with budget where it is right now, and I voiced those to the undersheriff and the administrator, and I'm wondering if it's a wise thing to do right now with potential cuts coming that we're talking of. I do support sending it on to the full board, the issue, so we can talk about it there. The undersheriff has indicated they'll be talking budget this week, so they can talk about those things, and then we can look at it at the full meeting. So I would move for sending the FTE position on to the full board. The administrator's looking at me like I foolbarred, but
Yeah, Carl?
I did make the motion.
I'll support it for support on that.
You have a motion and support. Discussion. Commissioner Alexander.
What position does this put the county in regard to vehicles? Because obviously a vehicle is provided by the county.
That's correct. They have a vehicle that is not in very good condition that they inquired as to whether we would want to take possession of. We would not. It's not uniform with the rest of our equipment. There'd be additional maintenance cost or upkeep costs that we would not be prepared for. What we are going to do, this does not expose us to any additional cost this year. So what we are going to do is, since this is a village contract and they're asking for a number of things that we are happily able to provide, such as foot patrol, things like that. The Village of Concord is not very far and wide as far as area miles or square area. So what we'll do is one of the older vehicles that was coming out of service that was due to be put up for auction, if this makes any sense, the best of the worst that we have going out of service will be retained for that contract, so there will not be additional vehicle costs this year. Vehicle costs are built into that contract. Typically, we try to put them over a period of years, so let's say we charge them a dollar amount within the contract, so after a 3-year period, that a vehicle would be financed or at least afforded in revenue.
So this is a 40-hour-a-week position, so a percentage of the insurance is included then in that, and/or, I mean...
That's correct. In the contractual dollar amount in all of our contracts is broken out for full-time wages and benefits, life insurance, workman's comp, health insurance, retirement, vehicle costs, gasoline usage, vehicle maintenance and repair.
Including automotive insurance?
I'm sorry?
Including the automotive coverage?
Including the automotive
Yes.
insurance. That's built into the vehicle cost maintenance and the other ancillary cost that comes with the contract.
Is that Commissioner Alexander? Commissioner Rice?
Morning.
Good morning.
My comment, I know Commissioner Elwell made a comment, we could discuss this at the board meeting, but just looking at this face value here, if you will, and I recognize that there's, which we certainly will not get into now, but I realize that there's some issues financially for the county as a whole moving forward, but my perspective on this is, as I look at this, regardless of what happens moving forward, this still provides funding for a full-time deputy. I can't see where that would cause an issue or be a problem moving forward from my perspective, and unless you see that where there'd be a problem with that.
No, and that's, I guess, the comment that I made is that this fully funds the position. I would prefer to move these items on as this is the item of and in itself. The budget factors and the financial shortfalls the county is facing, I'm optimistic that if we can work collaboratively together, that we can find a solution that works for everybody, both the commission and our office and the public. And I think we can do that. I'm not the least bit concerned about that. I mean, this town is roaring on. There's business coming in, and people are back to work, and things are good. Let's be optimistic. Let's find a way forward. I think we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Elwell?
I think I support sending it on here, so I assume Carl's talking about, maybe this is a discussion for the full board, but I guess what I'm looking at is if we're potentially talking about initially and early on positions being cut either through attrition or otherwise, then it doesn't make any sense to me to hire an FTE to turn around to potentially have to lay somebody off. And again, if there's a number of positions that potentially could get cut, I'm just saying that should be factored into the consideration. It just flies in the face of reason, I think, to approve a full-time spot if we know that there's going to be position cuts. I'm not saying we do know that because no decision has been made, but it's just putting it on the radar, and we can have the same discussion on Tuesday. So, thank you.
Commissioner Sarah?
Well, I was just going to say, you have a contract that's going to cover it regardless. So regardless, they have to fulfill that contract if we pass the contract. They have to keep a person there in Concord for the remainder of the contract. Am I incorrect?
That would be correct.
No, Board, we have a week from today, or a week from tomorrow, actually. the sheriff's department and the administration will be talking. So let's move this on to the full board for discussion. If we have to change the way we're going to do it, we'll do it then. We have a motion and support. Okay, call for a vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Same. Passed unanimously. Thank you, Under Sheriff. We have item D, 4D, while you're up there, purchase of a transport van.
Yes, I have, I guess technically two motions, one to amend the capital improvement plan and one to authorize the purchase of a transport van under the My Deal contract bid from Signature Ford. This will replace a current Chevrolet Astro van, transport van that we have. There was some confusion on this because I had some things flip-flopped in the capital improvement plan, but essentially what I'm asking to do is we had washers and dryers for an almost identical dollar amount budgeted for this year. We've had two, what I would call relatively significant repairs done on one of the washers and one of the dryers. I think those can sufficiently survive for not only the rest of this year, but well into mid-next year. The Corrections Division has indicated that the transport van is more of a pressing need. So essentially, we're going to amend it from the washers and dryers that were supposed to be purchased this year to the transport van and move the transport van up, washers and dryers back to next year.
Fairly clear. Discussion?
Mr. Chair, should these, it looks like they're together in one document. Should they be separated probably, I think, or maybe Mike knows, or does it matter? Doesn't matter? Okay.
We're just spending budgeted money.
I'd
It's
move
different
to amend the capital improvement plan and also approve the request for the vehicle.
We have a motion for support. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll go to proceed to vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Under Sheriff.
Thank you.
Next up, item 4E will be facilities. Welcome, Rick.
Chair,
Looks
Commissioners.
like you're going to break the bank here.
Pardon me?
Just messing with you.
Oh.
So it looks like you're going to break the bank with all your requests. These are all budgeted items.
Mr. Chair, I wonder if it would be better to bundle these together unless there are any questions?
I'm fine with that. How about you, Ward?
And you're talking about just the facilities remodeling, correct? Items, what?
Yes, they're all clerk's office remodeling requests.
If Carl's making the motion, I'll support it.
All in favor of the motion to amend this action and do the four under one request? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the same? Okay, go ahead. We see what we have to, we got a request for countertops, cabinets to install them on, carpet replacement, and project lighting. Discussion. Need a motion and support? Okay, we have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great idea.
Commissioners?
Next up, we have Parks. Welcome.
Good morning, how are you?
Morning, we're
I
fine.
guess I can't bundle mine, can I? No. Alrighty. First on is the request to purchase a tractor for the golf course. It is replacing a 1981 Ford mower that's actually already been sold at auction. It had failing hydraulics. The power steering was gone and the transmission was in bad condition, so we'd already sold it off. But we took it out of service. So this mower is able to be purchased through Napoleon Lawn and Leisure. It is on the government contract My Deal, and the purchase price for the tractor is $16,722.17.
Discussion board. Questions? Motion.
I'll make the motion. And also the point that you're deferring another purchase to pay for this,
Thank you
right?
very much. I apologize for that. You are
$50,000, I think.
correct. There's a fairway mower that was on the 2015-2019 capital improvement plan, but we're deferring that $50,000, and we were able to purchase a couple other pieces of equipment because of that when I came to the board.
Okay, do we have a motion and support? We're looking for a vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Next request, sir?
The second one is the purchase of a John Deere diesel trim mower for Sparks Park and the Cascades for $16,209.04. It is replacing a 2005 Toro Groundsmaster. It's lived its life. We basically bring a lot of maintenance into it, so we're just kind of limping it along until we're able to have an opportunity to have a new mower. It too it was on the 2015-2019 capital improvement plan to purchase it this year, and it too also is on my deal, so it is a government contract purchase from Napoleon.
Discussion? Motion? We have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimous.
Thank you very much.
I think both or all the requests here were won by local vendors. That's nice to see.
That is correct.
Thank you. Next up, we have item 4K, Finance. Welcome, Mr. Latham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're presenting to you the monthly financial statements for April 2015. Budget benchmark is 1/3 of the year, 33%. Actual expenditures are at 32.3, slightly below the benchmark. If we skip forward to the graphs, general fund expenses are a little bit below historical trends, which is good news. However, general fund revenue is a little bit below historical trends. Again, that's based on cash flow, because we're on cash basis when we report the monthly statements to you. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any discussion, board? Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm here for my quarterly report, so thank you for amending the agenda to accommodate me. I wanted to talk to you today about foreclosure and our foreclosure cycle. I have a couple of documents here. I did provide you with a map that I'll talk about. I wanted to show up this chart here if I can get that. Okay. So for the 2015 foreclosure cycle, we ended up with 230 parcels, which is a good thing. If you look at our history here, last year we had 259. So you can see from our chart here that we're close to the 2011 foreclosure numbers. Now, mind you, it's still a high number, but the fact that the foreclosure numbers are going down is a good thing. So that is good to see those numbers going down. So we're at 230. And then I'll show you here the map with the breakdown. I know that it matters to all of you when you're speaking to the constituents where these items are located, the foreclosures in your townships. So of the 230 parcels that we foreclosed on, it's parcels. We're talking about pieces of property. There also is a dollar that's attached to that figure. And the total this year which is kind of a blip, and I'll talk about that. The total amount that we have to collect now to reimburse the delinquent tax revolving fund is $2.9 million. So that's kind of a scary number. That's higher than we've seen in the past, but I will explain why. So this cycle has been very different. It's good to see the numbers going down. It's not good to see the dollar value total increase, but we had our first rights of refusal. The state denied to take any of our 230 parcels, but we saw a lot of activity and interest from the local units. We sent our notice to the local units to see if they were interested in taking under their first right, and they did. Summit Township purchased one property with a house on it, and it's my understanding that they are going to be working in collaboration with the city of Jackson to demolish the house because it is a blighted property. So that's good to see that you've got that partnership continuing with the city and the township. Leone Township took all 13 of their parcels that we foreclosed on. They took all 13 of the parcels in Leone Township. That hasn't happened before either. So to the price tag, I think it was $54,000 and change is what they paid. Now, mind you, they have to buy those. They have to pay the taxes due, so they don't just get the properties, they have to pay for that.
Are
Yes,
those
sir.
all just parcels, Karen, or is there any structures on them?
Yes, there's both. There are houses and there are vacant lots. Yes. Do you want the breakdown? I can give you the breakdown in Leone Township.
Sure, if you have it.
I do. There were 8 total improved, so there are 8 houses, 8 structures, and the remaining 5 are vacant lots in Leone Township. So they have taken their 13 parcels under their first right, so Leone, for all intents and purposes, has paid in full. The city this year, because they were awarded the $5.5 million, had monies to acquire, and they did. They are taking 53 of the 149. And those are all houses, I believe. And as you are all well aware, the city has a very active program, and their intent is when they purchased these 53 parcels, houses, for $266,000, their intent is to do demolition of those 53 structures. So a total this year, under the first right of refusal, is $324,000, which has never happened before. Obviously, it makes a difference when the city has monies available and to continue their mission of blight removal. So, yes, Commissioner Elwell. I believe it was from the grant that they were actively working with. I don't know if there was another rollover of funding that became available, but my assumption is that grant that they had been working with over the past couple of years. Okay, so now when we look at that $2.9 figure, we take off the 324 for those parcels that are no longer available. We've got 163 parcels. That's pieces of property, that's houses and vacant lots now that's going to be offered up for the first auction, okay? So, and I did want to tell you, the first auction, we have the date set. The first tax foreclosure auction is Wednesday, September 2nd at 12 o'clock at the Commonwealth Commerce Center. So we'll be going to auction with 163 parcels from this cycle. We will be also selling additional 53 parcels that we had from leftover years. So we're going to auction with a total of 216, just for information's sake. All right, so now if we were going to go to auction today, the dollar figure that I would have to try to recoup, because remember, this is on loan from the Delinquent Tax Revolving Fund, I have to recoup those dollars and pay back the delinquent tax loan, revolving fund, excuse me. We need to sell at auction $2,591,000 and change. So that, again, is still a very, very large number. What is comprising that number? I think you all are well aware that this year I foreclosed on the Michener, the property formerly known as Michener Plating. That is comprised of 3 parcels, one on 520 North Mechanic. There's a vacant lot on Trail Street, and then there's another site on 1705 Angling Avenue. Those 3 parcels alone comprise more than half of what I have to collect, 1.6 million. Now, I know it's a lot of numbers, but I'm trying to give you perspective here. It's not easy to foreclose on a property that has significant back taxes, but when you don't pay, I have to follow the law and foreclose. So I have the breakdown, if you're interested, on the total amount of taxes for each of those parcels. The largest, obviously, was the plant at North Mechanic Street. That's over $1 million. Now, it's interesting to me, again, from perspective sakes, when we foreclosed, the big ticket dollars that we saw were taxes, but there were a lot of special assessments that came over to the county treasurer's office that were not collected and or paid at the city. And those assessments are for citations, for either seepage or other violations from the wastewater treatment plant at the city that they were in violation of. So, and we had taxes back from 2004. So it's interesting to note that it's not just taxes. A lot of that portion was special assessments, fees, fines that the former business did not pay.
Karen, is it mandatory that we have to include that on that?
When the local units, when they turn the taxes over to the county treasurer's office, they roll everything in. Special assessments are included with the taxes. All that comes to the county treasurer to collect. Yes?
Karen, is this 1.6 million by the Michener properties included in the 2.59 million?
Yes.
So we're going to have a problem, it looks like.
Well, it's inclusive of. The 2.5 that I mentioned earlier includes the 1.6.
I highly
So-
doubt anybody's going to purchase that property.
Well, I'll talk about that. I have a plan. Commissioner Leitner?
Well, I just wanted you to remind me, how many years of taxes? Because there was a bankruptcy thrown in there, so.
Many bankruptcies.
This isn't just, a normal foreclosure and a
No.
normal, tax cycles, but can you refresh me and tell me how many actual years of taxes this is? Because I know it's numerous.
Yes.
Not,
The North Mechanic Street, I believe, and the vacant lot had taxes due and owing from 2004, all the way forward. And you are correct, there were multiple bankruptcies throughout those years, and when a business property, what have you, is going through bankruptcy, by law, I cannot collect. There's an administrative bankruptcy stay, and we cannot even attempt to collect. So, and they were in and out of bankruptcy, they came out of bankruptcy, we put it through the process, and we did do the foreclosure. The Angling Avenue is more current, I want to see 2006 taxes forward. Okay? So perspective, right? So it's not good news, but I think I can deal with that. Let's talk about Michener. I did send all of the commissioners and administration a very lengthy email. I apologize if I bored you with the details. I wanted to give you a step-by-step plan of action that I've been involved with since we foreclosed March 31st regarding these 3 properties. It is my intent to bundle these 3 properties at the auctions this year, knowing full well that there probably will not be anyone interested in purchasing those 3 properties for the tune of $1.6 million. We're also going to disclose the fact that, as I mentioned in the email, the Department of Environmental Quality is very aware of what's going on, and the United States Environmental Protection Agency are also involved. They've gone to both of these sites and done their site assessments. I have a new email that I received today today, the list of all the chemicals and hazardous substances that I will be forwarding to you, so you can see the magnitude of what we're talking about. You had pictures, so I think there's over 150 pictures from both sites that you can see the magnitude as well. So my intent is to protect these, so to speak, by bundling them. I don't want somebody to come along and take them. We need to clean up the issue with the hazardous substances. And under the law, I can do that. I can put these 3 parcels together and bundle them through the auction process so that we can remove the contamination and better our community. Does that answer your question? Okay. So it's been an interesting foreclosure year. Any other questions that I may answer about Michener or anything else?
Commissioner Shotwell.
What type of funding are you looking at for the Michener site to be able to clean it up?
As I mentioned in the email that I sent to all of you, the EPA has come in and done their site assessments. They are in process right now of creating what's called an action memo, their words, not mine. They see this as an immediate threat because of the quantity of hazardous substances that are still in the building. I should mention that I have with the audience today Dave Wooden from the City Fire Department. This is going to be a collaborative effort with many, many parties, and he is one of them. So he's been working with the EPA and the DEQ. He needs to be put on notice as to what that building is all about. God forbid anything happens. So as far as funding is going, Jackson County has not put a penny towards this property as of yet, nor has anyone indicated that Jackson County will be putting a penny towards this project. As I mentioned, some of the people from the EPA that are working with this and are already in the chain of all the communication, they're from the Superfund. So the EPA is talking about getting the funding together. I've not been asked, the County of Jackson's not been asked, so until that such point, we're going to wait and see what happens.
So is your office then going to be overseeing all of this? Is that what the deal is, to make sure things are done right? Or do you intend to approach the Brownfield Authority?
I have reached out to the Jackson County Brownfield Authority. I left a phone call with them and have not heard back from them. I have talked to also Jackson City Brownfield, talked with Chris Atkin to let him know that we were in the very beginning stages of working on this plant. So yes, absolutely. They're partners as far as I'm concerned. I think I'm spearheading this in the respect that I am the county treasurer and I'm the foreclosing governmental unit. It's a property that I foreclosed on. So I'm dealing with it because I think I'm the best point person at this stage of the game. But yes, any and all parties that will help with the cleanup are definitely going to be asked if they haven't been already. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm just curious, with seeing that they've been delinquent in taxes since 2004 and 2006, do you happen to know when they actually stopped business at their locations?
I'm not exactly sure when production ended on the North Mechanic Street Michener Plating. They were leasing a portion of that building out to Salco, and Salco is no longer there. When I foreclosed on them, I notified them that the building was no longer under the control of the former owners, Michener Plating, and Salco has since relocated to a different location. So the plating company portion, several years, maybe 10 years, maybe longer on Mechanic Street. The site at Angling Avenue, they still had a line running May 12th when we made our site visit. They have since ceased production May 15th, and they're actively working, both Jamie and Jason Michener are working with the EPA to identify chemicals, substances, what containers held that will facilitate cleanup and removal of the leftover remaining items. So one of the documents that I sent you to does show that the former owners had a significant responsibility in cleaning up the items that were left after production or as a result of production in those sites. they're working with the EPA on that.
Okay, I mean, you may not know the answer to this question, but I was just curious if there was any inspections that someone was responsible for doing, because that's what I would like to know. I mean, the magnitude of the mess that's in there, it looks to me like it's just been looked over by whoever is responsible for doing inspections on those properties. So I think they should be held responsible as well.
I don't know the exact answer, and I agree with you. It turns my stomach to think that that mess, for lack of a better word, exists in our community. And it is of great concern because they are very closely located, both sites, to the Grand River, which is also a significant concern. And part of the former owners in that company had to deal with citations for leakage into the Grand River. So there's that history there. I can tell you that when we did our site visit to the North Mechanics plant on May 8th, that the city wastewater person and supervisor were present, and she informed me that she's been through that facility a multitude of times. Now, what their process is, at that point, I do not know. But they, because of the plating, what they would do is they would run their materials and turn it into sludge and properly dispose of it using the city's wastewater plant. Now, I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but that's what they were talking about. So that's why the city wastewater was involved, because removal of that sludge and their efforts to clean up went through the city wastewater process.
Commissioner Alexander.
I would prefer to hold my question to less. I don't want to leave this topic. If anyone else has any questions regarding this topic, mine is different.
Commissioner Rice.
I didn't get time to finish here. I was just trying to look up here if there's an actual city ordinance when it comes to, and I say city because obviously we're talking about the properties being in the city here, even though they're coming to the county. But anyway, I guess what I'd like to find out is, and maybe you could find this out if you want, if the city has an ordinance where they're supposed to inspect factories with it, to look for this type of contamination, because again, Commissioner Mahoney, from my perspective, is right on target. This has gone on, obviously, just by looking at the pictures, this has obviously had gone on for years and years and years. So I find it hard to believe that there shouldn't have been some kind of inspection prior to all this, and which really concerns me, and I would certainly like to have an answer to that.
I can at least ask the question. Maybe the local DEQ contacts that I have here may have an answer, and I could also check with the city wastewater person and see if they know.
Okay, appreciate it.
Sure.
Any further, Commissioner Elwell?
Well, one's a little bit back to a question I asked, but I'd be fearful of how many other nightmares there are like this out there. And maybe our local fire chief might know that question for the city of Jackson. Maybe not. Karen, back to special assessments being included on the tax bills. It seems that I recall that we used to not do that. We used to exclude that from taxes. And, my opinion is we take a big enough hit as it is on properties like this and the hotel that we ended up with. And it just seems kind of absurd to me that we have to take the hit on those types of things also. And I'm not just talking about one municipality here, but all of them. For instance, if a township were to mow the grass because they're not mowing, all those things can be added on, and then we end up footing the bill for that, correct?
That is a great question. As far as grass clippings, mowing, that they can roll over if they put it as a special assessment. If they create a special assessment tax roll, then it comes over to us. But if it's billings, if they try to bill for mowing, we don't accept those. So there is a slight differentiation there, but if it comes over as a special assessment tax, we have to take it.
isn't from the time the property is foreclosed on, isn't the special assessment for future payments what comes, not the past ones?
It can be both. If it's a bonded special assessment, we have to honor it because there's a bond involved. But if it's, like I mentioned, special assessment for either fines or cleanup fees, if they put it on as a tax, it rolls over to the county treasurer's office as a tax.
Do we have any way of knowing how much of that is coming over? I mean, is it noted from each municipality or not on each parcel?
Generally, we don't track it. I asked to dig up the information so I could at least report it to you for these 3 parcels that we're talking about, but generally, it's not significant, unfortunately. This is significant.
Okay, thank you.
Karen, typically, if a municipality or a township, their property don't sell for enough to pay for the taxes they owe, you invoice them for the difference. Is this going to be a big hit to the city?
Yes.
Okay.
And I sent out my obligatory letter warning of chargebacks in the event that we don't collect what's outstanding. So, yes, it will have an impact.
So the special assessments would be part of
Yes. It's
that?
all lumped together, yes.
Yes. Any more questions on the Missioner property? Okay, Commissioner Alexander.
Thank you. Karen, can you either give me some background on what you do, following my question? My question is, I have one of my 4 townships that would like to be more proactive in helping their constituents that are about to be foreclosed on. They want to reach out, and some of them have within the community, within using the connections they have. My township is requesting that they receive information via a letter prior to the foreclosure taking place. So let's say 60 days, 30 days prior to that date being there. I do know that you do provide a lot of other opportunities. I know it's on, you've got it on MLive, you've got it on your website, but for some of these rural townships, they are not using the technology pieces to that extent. So they would request a letter from you giving them a heads up of what's about to come down the pipe for them.
Would the map that I provide monthly and the monthly reports of those pending foreclosures suffice, or they want something additional to that?
Anything would be appreciated.
And as you know, it's a moving target up until we foreclose March 31st, but which township is it, can you say?
Is Pulaski Township.
Okay. It's a very small number. We don't foreclose on very many in Pulaski Township, so.
Correct, but there was one.
This one.
And it is this one that they had been attempting to work with the homeowners, and were making great progress, and to be honest, they just felt like they were blindsided.
Really?
Yes. I understand.
That's tough.
I understand, so I am just the messenger sharing their message.
And any of the notices that we send out, that notifying the potential of foreclosure, it talks about dates that they can come in and talk to get an extension.
And you're talking to the residents.
Yes.
And in this regard,
This is the township.
Township officials
see.
that wish they had more insight because they're concerned some of the individuals that they have worked with in the past may need additional assistance in which they want to provide as elected township officials. They want to assist their residents that they think may be in need of that.
I don't see that as a problem.
Thank you.
We can begin that process moving forward. Anything else that I can answer? We provided a list of those parcels to the county when you were considering the county's first right of refusal, but we can trim that down and take out the 53. I can send it to you if you're interested in that, the list. You just want addresses? Yeah, I can send that to you. Not a problem.
Any further questions for the treasurer?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Karen, for the good explanation also.
Sure.
Okay, we'll go back to the agenda. You have other minutes. Under 5B, it's the Jackson County Building Authority. Next month's reporting schedule is finance, IT, and I assume this was your report, Karen, or are you going to be back next month?
No, just my quarterly, so not next month.
Okay. So next month we'll have finance and IT. Moving on to that was July's reporting schedule. Item 6 is second round of public comments. Do we have any public out there that wishes to comment? Apparently not. Committee member comments. Any comments, committee members? Speak up.
Just want to say thank you to Karen again for the detailed report.
Thank you, and that's echoed here too. Thank you much. Meeting adjourned.